The biggest complaint of Christopher Nolan's films is his indulgence in relaying every ounce of information straight from the character's mouth to the audience. With Dunkirk, Nolan set to rectify this gripe with a roughly 80-page script that's taut, streamlined, and devoid of any substantial dialogue, focusing primarily on the language of visual storytelling to construct a landscape that stages 3 concurrent story threads. Nolan's mastery of somehow not letting go of the audience's attention gives us time to build a coherent picture on what the evacuation was really about, the individual shared experience. Ideas of sacrifice for duty, perception of time, and cowardice are all present in a war film like Dunkirk, but Nolan more importantly hones in on an instinct that defines the human experience: survival. The film takes place in 3 different elements. On land, we follow Tommy, Gibson, and Alex trying to find a way off the beach. On sea, we stick with Mr. Dawson, Peter, and George, who help a shivering soldier on board while on their way to aid with the effort. We have Farrier and Collins in the air, providing aerial support against the oncoming German fighters. The mole takes place over a week, the sea over a day, and the air over an hour. These threads are intercut between each other at vital points to paint a picture on how each party slots into the grander narrative. Nolan wanted to keep a subjective point of view, as we're being constantly exposed to time at different intensities in each story thread. The aerial combat is where the majority of the motion is, with a feeling of that one demanding hour pressing down on an already difficult affair. Editor Lee Smith found a perfect tempo to assemble the sequences in, to include what's necessary from these differing viewpoints. Making sure that each shot doesn't overstay its welcome heightens that quest for survival, as the audience are inflicted with the same relentless assault the characters experienced. Time really is imminent and inescapable. The notion of heroes and cowards are brought forward in the mole story thread, as Nolan recreates the hectic conditions that places the audience firmly in the character's shoes. Do you ignore the other fearful soldiers who board a ship, or is staying back and helping the morally right thing to do? The ongoing gunfire and explosions add to this question. Should we really be despising the selfishness of these few individuals who just want to survive? When the soldiers are on the downed boats, we finally learn the true identity of Gibson, who is in fact French. While Alex and the others gang up on him, it's hard not to feel sorry for a man who just wants to leave this ordeal behind. It's easy to brand someone a coward when you're in the moment, but that ultimately wears away when you see the final result.
Well done.
All we did is survive.
That's enough.
The story being more powerful than the truth relates to the events happening on sea. The shivering soldier is never told if George is fine, as he gets to leave France without the added burden of killing a boy, while the local newspaper is told that his death wasn't in vain. Maybe the grimness of reality isn't worth being told during a victory. The franticness of the dogfights help underline the feeling of sacrifice, by placing your life on the line to help thousands. Farah gives himself up in the aid of the British, but more importantly, he surrendered a part of his own spirit, in the form of the burning Spitfire. The almost ominous realization he has when looking at the molten heap, as if his identity as an Englishman would be tainted by falling to the Germans, is a powerful way to simultaneously present hope and dread. With the choice of visuals over dialogue, Nolan had to really adapt to this setting, as filming scenes from a different point of view all within the same vicinity meant a lot of care to go into where and how the camera is placed, to create a spatial reference for the viewers. The influence of silent films take precedence in the way faces, actions, and movements are captured, all stitched together at perfect beats.
An approach stripped down of dialogue, really looking to the visual masters of the past, either of the silent era, guys like Murnau and von Stroheim, or later on Hitchcock and his great mastery of visual suspense, or Clouseau in Wages of Fear.
The silent visual indications are what builds up the suspense. The constant barrage of these images, whether it be Commander Bolton's expressions, the rising tide, or Farrier slowly taking aim at the enemy, it fills us up with such overwhelming dread that we easily connect to the almost primal instincts on show. This extends to the antagonists, the Germans. We never see one single face of a Nazi. They manifest themselves simply as bullets, torpedoes, and booming drones. That's how you create terror, in the mind of the viewer. Hans Zimmer's score is a character in itself, as it's structurally integral to the film. The constant stopwatch tick is ever present, along with the use of a shepherd tone to make the audience constantly on edge. It feels omniscient and intimidating, like time is a true adversary. The score might be passive at points, but quickly swells into a pulsating beat that intensifies the immediacy of the action. The instruments mimic the sound of military weapons, They're deafening, visceral and gut-punching. But when the ticking stops, the silence truly is deafening. The audience by now have just experienced emotions from all ends of the spectrum, and we finally diffuse the air with stillness. These final frames perfectly suspend the audience in time. As Churchill's speech is delivered over the final montage, we relive the explosions, the tension and the desire to get back home. The lifeblood of the British lingers in every scene. Our integrity and willingness to conquer the enemy is shown in full force, and something Nolan imbued in his filmmaking throughout the production. He personifies the soldiers, pilots, crewmen and everyone in the vicinity as one single organism fighting for its life. Whose lives are worth more? The soldiers, the civilians, officers, pilots? With Nolan opting for a straight-back approach, what we essentially got was an experimental blockbuster film that presents rather than exposit, and that makes it all the more powerful. The characters are defined by what they do and feel in a time like this. It's the idea that when the British are in need, civilized people step up and fulfill their patriotic and national duties against the larger instrument that is war.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.